You're gonna pan around first, right?
Yep. Alright, Sir McCarty. Mr. McCarty.
Hi, I'm Patrick McCarty. I'm a jet engine maintainer, and I'd like to talk to you guys a little bit today about the jet engine maintenance process. So imagine yourself flying along at 30,000 feet in a high-performance F-16, and then the aircraft catches on fire. Not a good thought, is it? So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the process of how we prevent such a catastrophe as that. And even though technology and air power have come a long way since the inception of the aircraft, sometimes still things can break and lead to disaster. So my job is to ensure that through meticulous attention to detail, nothing breaks and nothing goes wrong, and all aircraft are safe to fly. This is especially important because an aircraft obviously can't stop at a gas station if it's flying along and has trouble, like you could in a car. So, because of that, it's required that hundreds of man-hours go into maintaining the airframe in as much of a ready state as possible. So let's take a quick overview of the process that goes into maintaining the engine of the aircraft, which is, again, my specialty. So it's often that an engine encounters trouble enough where it's no longer safe to fly. This trouble could be anything from internal damage to fluid leaks to scheduled maintenance to scheduled modification. So when any of these conditions occur, the first step, obviously, is to remove the engine from the aircraft. Now, once the engine is removed from the aircraft, the next step in the process is to drop the engine off at the engine shop. Once the engine is dropped off at the engine shop, the first step inside the engine shop is to do the pre-dock, which consists of a comprehensive review of any maintenance that's going to be required that's scheduled, and also to correct the reason that the engine has entered the engine shop. The next phase is to inspect the entire engine, both internally and externally, for any problems that could cause it to be unsafe or not function properly. So once that inspection phase is complete, the next phase is to actually tear down the engine to the point that's necessary to repair the damage. And then once the engine is tore down to that point, all the parts get inspected a second time to once again ensure that anything that goes back together on the engine is a serviceable, safe, reliable part. Once that's accomplished, the qualified technicians begin buildup of the engine. Then, once the engine is built up, it's inspected again, and once it's put together 100% correctly and the inspection's complete, then we move on to the next phase. Because even though the engine appears to be serviceable, it hasn't yet been tested. So we don't know that it works correctly. And simply, it wouldn't be safe to fly this way without testing. So we then test the engine at the test cell, where they again do a pre-test inspection. So one more time they inspect the engine. Then they load it on a test stand, and this test stand, we can actually operate the engine and simulate that it's flying in the aircraft without any risk to human lives or loss of aircraft. So then, once it's loaded on the test stand, the operational checks are performed, and once the engine's passed, we accomplish post-test phase, which consists of yet more inspections. And once that's complete, the engine is again returned to the engine shop for the final phase of the engine maintenance process. So even after the ground testing of the engine, the maintenance process still isn't complete, as I said. The engine is deposited back in the engine shop, where post-test cell checks are accomplished. Environmental noise. Come on in. Where post checks are accomplished. This consists of once again looking over the external of the engine and the internal of the engine, both by younger maintainers and then finally by senior maintainers. After the senior maintainer has looked over the engine, quality assurance also comes behind him, which is quality assurance is an outside agency, and they certify that everything is good to go, that nobody has cut corners. Also, the engine work package and records are reviewed, and once that's all good to go, the engine is blessed as a serviceable engine spare, and it is ready to fly in the aircraft. So, again, anytime an engine shows the slightest hint of damage, it's removed and made serviceable again. It's vital that the engine be 100% checked out on the ground before it flies. And the post-test cell phase, or post-ground test phase, is also very important because it ensures that the engine is 100% up to specs. So, with all these processes in place, while it's impossible to guarantee that nothing can ever go wrong, it is possible to make flying 30,000 feet about as safe as running to the grocery store on a rainy day. Not too bad, huh? Any questions? No questions? Okay, thank you for your time.